Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown Podcast. This is the opposition show. Middlesbrough host Wrexham on Saturday for the first time since 1999, and I'm delighted to be joined by Tim from the Fearless in Devotion podcast to preview the game. Tim, welcome to the Boro Breakdown Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Thanks for having me. Another easy game, obviously coming up the weekend. So yeah, they come thick and fast. So just when we finally get our first home league win of the campaign out of the way, another biggie pops up. So the next two that we've got are against second and first respectively as it stands. So yeah, great.
Yeah, welcome to the Championship. Yeah, there's only one place to start, really, and it is the Wrexham ascent up the leagues. It has been quite something from the National League to the Championship in just 3 seasons. It's the first time that you've been in the second tier since 1981-82. How have the last few years been for you as a Wrexham fan?
It's been amazing, but it's just been an absolute blur as well. You know, when you can have too much of a good thing, which sounds ridiculous, but I mean, I don't think a lot of people will say, "Oh yeah, we should have swapped places for that level of success." But when you kind of drop out of the league in the manner we did, and we all thought, "Oh yeah, we might get out of it in a few seasons," and then we stood there for like 15 seasons or 14 seasons or wherever it was. It's quite tough because you go from being an ex-football league team to an established national league team, and that's the way it turned for us. So to finally get out of it, it's just a weird structure. I mean, eventually the powers that be will change the structure of the league and have, 2 automatic spots rather than one. It's just chaos how they've gone and tried to make it a bit more exciting by saying, any second to 7th can go up automatically as well through the playoffs. So it's just been an amazing ride, like a wild ride, and don't take any of it for granted. And in a kind of slightly sadistical way, I'm enjoying the reset of actually losing some games and bringing us all back down to earth with a bit of a bump, really, and having a nice reality check, because it almost sometimes didn't feel real to have that level of success over so many years and hardly losing games and so on. It was just didn't feel like real at times. So it's nice that we all go to enjoy the games and the results, of course we do, but it's much more than that for the vast majority of us, social occasion and everything else. So it's just been bonkers, and everything else that comes with it, with all the razzmatazz and the overseas visitors and everything. It's just been a wild ride.
I was going to ask off the back of that then, what's the expectation for Wrexham this season? Is it just to stay up and try to establish yourselves as a Championship club?
I think so, yeah. I think prior to the transfer window, if you would have asked any Wrexham fan what's the expectation, they would have said, just stay up, consolidate, and then see where we're at in another year. But I think because of the amount of money that was spent and the sort of the transformation of that squad wholesale, which is, I don't think any of us quite saw the extent of which was to come. I think that's changed people's parameters a little bit. So I think we should all in our heads think, oh, we should look a little bit higher than just staying up. And I think anything respectably from mid-table finish onwards would represent a very good first season back at this level. But we're still learning. The vast majority of the fan base probably haven't seen football at this level, from a Wrexham perspective. So we're learning as we go along, and we're learning fast. That it's there's no easy games, pretty much. Very tight games, great quality games, but it's a great league. I've even enjoyed the defeats, to be honest, because it's not like a crappy, 5-4 defeat at Wealdstone. It's good defeats, if that makes any sort of sense. I mean, I'll probably get bored of that in 7-8 years' time when we're still stuck here or whatever. But I'd rather be stuck in the Championship than further down the pecking order. So yeah, it's just crazy. It's just strange. Every away game feels like an FA Cup game to us at the moment. That'll wear off at some point, but we're enjoying it while the novelty value is still there, really.
Yeah, enjoying the ride, and it has been quite some ride as we've spoken about. It's been 3 wins, 4 draws, and 4 defeats in the Championship so far. You're 15th ahead of this weekend's fixtures. How are you finding it so far in the Championship in terms of, I guess, yeah, just the games that Wrexham have been involved in from a fan perspective, how's it been?
I think it literally feels maybe up until yesterday, until we finally got that first home win in the league off our back. It just kind of felt almost like a free hit week in, week out to a certain point. We weren't getting spanked by anybody. We always felt like we were in games, which is crucial, I think, at this level. And nobody said it was going to be easy. Nobody said, "Oh yeah, we're going to go for a 4 successive promotion." That's being beyond greedy and beyond anything realistic, So literally, we're just kind of enjoying it, like week by week, enjoying to see what we can do, and enjoying Phil Parkinson trying to prove as many doubters wrong, of which there are quite a few out there that will say he's washed at this level. Look at what he didn't manage to do last time. But it's such a long time ago. Football's changed immeasurably since then, and he's got tools at his disposal that he never had before. So it's a completely different map, really, in that respect. But honestly, it's just been great fun, and I'm still getting used to the players now. I'm still trying to figure out who's who, because there's that many players that have come in and I've left. I'm like, who's that again? Or I've mixed that person up with this person. So it's strange, because I've put my personal point up until maybe the last 2 weeks or so. I found it difficult to have any emotional buy-in with these players because they're so new. It's like, Christmas, and you have loads of presents. And you don't know which one to open first. And then you open them all up. It's like, I don't know which one to play with first. It's like they're all new and shiny. And I don't know which one I'm going to like the best. And I don't know which one I'm going to discard, and so on and so forth. So it's a bit like that. Literally, it's so strange watching a football team that up until recently I've not really recognised, because everything is shiny and new, apart from, a handful of players that have managed to survive the cut and the sort of the sweeping broom that Parky's wielded over the summer. It's been an odd transition, especially for us, where we've not been used to spending the money that we spent. We're not used to seeing we are used to seeing the club's name in the media, which obviously everybody's sick to death of, and I fully get that and appreciate it. But I'm not used to seeing blah, blah, blah's bought Nathan Broadhead for 7.5 million, which is pocket change to a lot of clubs. But to us, it's just like, what? Less than 12 months ago, I think our record signing was about 600 grand. So,
that's quite some change, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big step, and it's a lot of change in a very short space of time. And like anything, it takes a bit of time to get your head around. Or it's different. Everybody's different, I guess. But it's taken me a bit of time to kind of factor in that this is still very much my club. The values are still there. Players still meet the fans before the game and everything else, so that they're still keeping some core beliefs true to the club, which I think is important.
What's the style of play been like under Phil Parkinson, who I'm sure, I don't know if I've read this completely wrong, but I'm sure he's a Boro fan. I'm sure I saw that somewhere, that Phil Parkinson supports Middlesbrough, so he's got pretty good taste there, if that's true.
I think he is. I know he was born in Chorley, which is Lancashire.
Yeah.
But yeah, you might be right. I genuinely can't remember now. I'd have to go and check on that one. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of style of play,
in maybe Stockton. Yeah, I think he grew up around here. But if he supports Middlesbrough, then fair play to him.
You're probably right, and no doubt something might be said or made of that in the press conference and stuff, whichever it might be today or tomorrow. I can't remember, but style of play. Anybody from the outside looking in will say that Phil Parkinson's got one style of play, or there has been a well-notified style of play to get us out of the lower divisions in terms of hoofball and parky ball and this, that, and the other, and just play to your strengths. But I think Sean Dyche mentioned in a press conference in Forest yesterday that's kind of come back in vogue now. Like, it's not long balls; it's now described as long passes, and people are using the sort of tools of the trade of the long throws of yesteryear, the kind of Rory Delapse, which is kind of frowned upon at the time, is now a big thing to have long throw merchants again. So any kind of
we scored from one of them against West Brom, actually, a long throw.
There you go. It's back in vogue.
In fashion.
Exactly that.
Absolutely is.
So, but I think we've had to adapt at this level. There were show signs of it last season, and then he usually does 3-5-2s or 5-3-2s. I'm one of these people that never takes that much notice of formations and stuff. I try and take that aspect out of my brain and just enjoy the football for what it is, without trying to profess that I'm going to know everything about XG and yards gained and all this sort of madness that I just can't get behind, to be honest. But it's become more expansive in recent times. We try and play to our strengths when it's needed, so you can go long with Kiefer up front with a target man like that and have people playing off him. But we do have some very fast wing backs now, so we want to try and get the ball out to them as quickly as we can. We've got a decent set of midfielders as well. So I wouldn't really say we have a specific style of play. We just kind of play to our strengths for the most part. And again, what are we, 11 games in? Quarter of the season already, and I still don't really know what... I don't know what Phil Parkinson thinks. All I know is that it works. 9 times out of 10, his win ratio is still insane, considering a lot of people didn't give him much of a chance when he joined us. But it's far more enjoyable than what it was. But that's natural because of the scale of the opposition you're facing and the difference in quality. Everybody said it's so different between League One and Championship, and you're thinking, okay, well, we'll just have to take your word for it because everybody says it, but you don't actually appreciate it and realise it until you're there and you go, yeah, it's a bit bigger than your average level. I mean, it is worlds apart, and it'd be very interesting if the likes of Stockport, whatever, follow us into that division. It'd be very interesting to see how much they spend, just as a sort of comparable club in that respect, because we've gone up and gone, okay, we've had to spend a bit of money, but then you look at the likes of Charlton who came up as well, and they've really taken to the division, whereas the likes of us and Birmingham have just taken a while to try and figure it out. So yeah, it's been great though. I love it.
Yeah, it will be that one. It will be a case of figuring it out because, as we've said, there's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of turnover, a lot of players going out, a lot of players coming in. And I think what football fans don't really appreciate is that does take time. It takes time with new players, and particularly when you bring in so many new players, that's just going to take a long time to kind of adapt. So I will say that your start to the season, I think, has been pretty fine, all things considered, all things, factoring in all of that change. And we've experienced it at the top end of the Championship, whereby we had a really good season under Michael Carrick the first time he came in, didn't manage to get up. We lost in the playoff semi-finals against Coventry, and then massive turnover of players next season, wasn't so good. So change it has a big impact on teams. One of the players that was brought in the summer, Lewis O'Brien, I just want to focus on him a little bit because he is former Middlesbrough. He spent a season on loan actually with us in 23-24. He did fall beneath the expectation, but he did get a pretty bad injury early on that kind of curtailed his start. How has he been for you guys? Because I quite like Lewis O'Brien. I was really sad that he wasn't able to show what he's capable of, because at this level I think he's a very good player.
Yeah, well, again, when we sort of saw the name and heard the name, we were like, okay, let's do a bit of digging on this guy. And my friend's a Swansea fan, and they obviously loved him at Swansea. And my friend was like, I'm gutted that we've missed out on trying to get him back here because he's a really, really solid addition. And then you see them play, and he is just very, very good as an all-rounder. Never looks back, always playing forward, always on the front foot. He's good at picking players off. His reading of the game's really good. Like, I've not seen him do any real rash challenges yet. He's very, very good and meticulous with the timing of his challenges. And it's not just about challenges, it's about the ball retention. You can do a slide tackle and lose it. He does a slide tackle, and he's already got the ball wrapped around his feet ready to play it. So he's very, very much a kind of a disruptive midfield presence, I'd say. Doesn't look it. You look at him, he just looks like, I don't know. What does he look like? I don't know. I can't think. But you would never guess, your usual kind of midfield enforcers. But he just goes about his business in a very calm, measured, and an effective way. But against Stoke, didn't have a wonderful game, has to be said, and he was one of the changes that was made by Parky for the game against Oxford, and that's how brutal he is being. the manager. It's like, yeah, you're being decent, but you've let your standards slip after international break. You come back in, it's not quite worked for you, so I'm going to try somebody else. So that's the beauty of having a large squad. But I imagine he would be involved in some way, shape, or form against Middlesbrough. But on the whole, very impressive, very busy. Could just do with a couple more goals from him as well.
Yeah, who else in the Wrexham ranks has impressed you this season then, so far?
So far, George Dobson, midfielder, who he was formerly at Charlton. One of those where you think, wow, we've got this raft of midfield players that have come in. Is he going to be able to step up the mark? And he's probably ousted everybody. Sort of his output is ridiculous. Again, similar to Lewis O'Brien in that sense that he just disrupts and just makes passing so much easier, mainly out to the flanks, but just a very, very good operator, very shrewd, very clever. He's reading the game as well. He's just very, very, very astute and does a lot of defensive work, which obviously aids his all-round game, but he's been very good. Issa Kabore, who is on the right wing, got him on loan from Man City. Ridiculously quick. Kind of already become a bit of a hero amongst the fans. You want to play like that. He will get you off your backside, and he's got pace to burn. A little bit frustrating in recent games, just been a little bit indecisive in his final ball, and some occasions when he's like, do I shoot or do I lay it on a plate again? But very, very good. So I can't imagine he drops anytime soon. Just a very, very good player all round. And then who else? There's been a few. Kiefer Moore started really well. Nathan Broadhead started to come good. Now he's had a start or two. But yeah, our young defender Max Cleworth, we're forever going on about him because he has come with us on this journey from the National League. Has come through our academy, and again, I mentioned Lewis O'Brien. Like Max Cleworth, was he 22, 23 now? Doesn't look like he's ever started shaving his entire life. You look at him thinking, he looks more like he should be like, by a poolside as a lifeguard or something. You'd never guess he would be a championship defender, but he's literally, every time they've asked him to step up to the plate, he's done it. And it wasn't that long ago. He was taking on Gyökeres against Coventry in the FA Cup when we beat them. But he's learned from those games and has just put on more muscle and got stronger and got more belief in him and learned from the players around him. So he's very good. Prior to this recent transfer window, we probably would say he's one of our most saleable assets, whereas now he's probably one of a clutch of saleable assets. But if he left tomorrow for a Premier League club, everybody would be delighted because it's what he deserves. He deserves to play at a high level because he's proved time and time again he can cut it.
Yeah, you're coming into this one off the back of a 1-0 victory over Oxford. That's your first win since September the 20th against Norwich. You're having an awful season, it has to be said. A bit of a wait, classic championship, innit? A bit of a wait, 5 games. How did you rate that performance?
It was very, very good, but it's quite difficult to gauge because how bad it was at Stoke. We were rubbish at Stoke. I was so frustrated with how we played after that international break. And it's one of those, you either come in from that break rejuvenated, but maybe it disrupted a little bit because we sort of went into it on the back of 3 pretty reasonable draws that maybe we should have done more with. But we just looked lethargic and lost and didn't really have any belief that we were going to win that game, which I thought was really annoying, really wound me up. So by comparison, I was always expecting a response, and obviously Parky made several changes. It paid off. We'd look more lively. With the greatest respect to Oxford, it's probably the poorest team we've faced so far this season, and I include Sheffield Wednesday in that. Everybody just assumes that because of the problems they're facing, they're going to be a sitting duck. But they've had a couple of decent results already this season. I know you managed to scrape past them the other night. They're no mugs. They're no mugs. So and they're going to want to try and prove people wrong and get out that sort of relegation picture. So yeah, Oxford were pretty poor, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and we should have really scraped past more than 1-0 as well, to be perfectly honest. So the overall performance was really good. It was levels above Stoke. Can it be improved upon? Of course it can. because the last thing you want when you're down to 10 men protecting a 1-goal lead, sometimes it can be squeaky bum, but the game management for that was well planned out, well thought out, well executed, and we got over the line. And yeah, it's what we on 13 points. It's not bad. I'd probably take that, I think, within reason at this point.
Yeah, like I said, I think your start to the season has been fine. And, I kind of look at the game on Saturday. You've only blanked once this season, which was against Stoke. Yeah. So you do score. I do wonder if you'll breach that Boro backline that have conceded the least amount of goals this season. So it's going to be interesting how the game will pan out on Saturday. How do you feel like you guys will set up? Because I kind of envisage you maybe trying to make it difficult for Boro to play, because we're not actually the best attacking team in the league. Do you think maybe the kind of setup from Parkinson will be difficult to beat?
I would like to think so. I like to think he'll kind of build on what went out against Oxford again, is that we just looked more compact and much more solid. We were very loose at Stoke, and that was we were architects of our own downfall. We just invited the pressure on and over again, could get out of a half, and I was just like, it's like we were playing with 9 men. I couldn't get, I'll never ever profess to being a football expert or somebody who knows about tactics and formations. Never been interested. If I was, I'd be a Sunday league manager. It's just not. I'll let the experts deal with that. But we're not mugs as well. When your team is struggling or under the cosh, and then you're thinking, I can't understand why. That's the big thing for me. Yeah. So I think Parky's gone back to his kind of trusted selection of, sort of three at the back, two wing backs. So yeah, he's going to go back to that 5-3-2 kind of scenario again, and just try and make life more difficult, but by the same token, just make sure that we're a little bit more streetwise than what we have been. I think we've shown it in fits and starts this season, but we've never. I think the Oxford game is probably one of the most 90-minute performances we've had. We've tended to be a second half team so far this season, up until that one where it just seemed to click for the most part. I think Oxford had maybe a couple of little spells, but nothing really that serious. So I think he will. I think he will try and make it difficult. Like you said, if you might not be scoring that many, but you're not conceding that many. So it's either going to be 5-5, 5-0, or 0-0. It's going to be one of those. So we'll see how it pans out.
No Callum Doyle for this one as well. He's suspended. Who do you think will come in for him?
I would imagine Lewis Brunt will come back in for him. He's done really well. Last season I was still a bit unsure because he was in and out of the side. But again, somebody who's really worked on themselves over the summer. They've worked with him, and every time he's played, he's performed solidly for the most part. I think they were trying to get Doyle back in the picture because the money that was spent on him, and the idea that, Man City rate him highly because they put a buyback clause in. He's a good player. Yeah, so good player, rash challenge every day, that's the irony, is that he looked really good. It's probably his better performance for us, and then he goes in flying. It's a committed challenge, isn't it? It's not malicious, but you go in like that, you always run the risk, I think. So bit of a setback with him, but it happens, isn't it? That happens. So I think Brunt will come back in, and he might do what Dom Heim has done. Like Dom Heim has come in at the back and replaced Connor Cody, who had a stinker against West Brom. It's just slower than mud, just really bad. And I
was hoping that Cody would come in for Doyle. Where is Cody anyway? If you just decided that he's crap and so you're not playing,
it's easy to just assume that he's not very good. He's obviously a very good player. He's clearly he's been there and done it. And you listen to any Leicester fan, they'll tell you he's the worst thing on earth. It's the same with Danny Ward. They're like, he's rubbish. We can't wait that you've taken him off our hands. Blah blah blah. But it's difficult with Cody. He's back in and amongst the squad, but unless Haim has a really bad game or gets injured, I don't see where he gets back in anytime soon. I'm praying they don't stick him back in for that Cardiff game, because I'll be very upset if he if he is responsible for any bad goals given away in that one. But yeah, it's Cody. Like it's almost like an easy scapegoat. But he's a scapegoat for one game. He knows he had a bad game. Everybody knows he had a bad game. You know, anybody with a glass eye could have seen that. He had a bad game. It's a fact. But you know, we've got a player in. He's a Scottish international, and he's not the big star name that sort of Cody came with to a certain point. But he's just a very good player. I like it when you get a player that goes under the radar, just slots into your team, and it just feels like they've been there forever, and they just get on with it. They don't whinge. They don't moan. They just lead. And they defend. And I think every time he's played, we've just generally looked more resolute and more determined to get something from a game as opposed to being a little bit wishy-washy against the opposition.
Yeah, we've got a player like that in Alfie Jones, actually. Feels like he's been playing for Middlesbrough for quite some time and actually came to Middlesbrough with a few Hull fans being a bit iffy on whether he's a good player or not. And he's come in and he's slotted in perfectly, just seamless. That transition between Hull and Middlesbrough has been perfect. So he's been one of those signings, much the same. We'll get to our score predictions now then, Tim. What are you going for this game? Are you feeling a bit confident, a bit not confident?
I mean, you've got to lose at home at some point. I keep thinking...
I know, yeah.
Can we do a Doncaster? But I imagine most of your team you played that game was like...
Don't mention that game.
I watched that game and I can't believe that was August already. It felt like it was like last week when I watched it. And I was like, wow, that's a proper shoe, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think Rob Edwards is a good manager, and I think he got burnt a bit with the whole Luton scenario in the end.
Yeah.
So I am going to go for my head says a loss. My head says a loss. My heart says we're going to go back to those creditable draws in and around a win that we should have won, which we did. But a draw at Middlesbrough is not. I'm going to have to go with my gut instinct and say we're probably going to lose, and I think we're probably going to lose 3-2. I'm going to go with that idea that you said. Your attack will suddenly kick in, and we'll get back to scoring goals again. But yeah, I genuinely don't know. It's one of those again. We're just looking forward to coming up and just trying to give a good account of ourselves, which we didn't do at Stoke, and up until then we'd done all right in the road. So if we can give a good account of ourselves, I don't think any Wrexham fan realistically will look at the next two games and go, well, we've got to take at least 4 points from them. That's just not realistic. That's not doing ourselves down, but you've got to look at teams that have been in this division for probably too long now. I think you've been in 7 or 8, I want to say, around that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
it's a while.
Way too long.
And I think in that time
we're part of the furniture here, unfortunately.
We had about 10
part of the
managers
furniture in the championship.
Yeah, and it happens.
Yeah, we're not Watford.
Yeah, well, who is? Jesus Christ. How are they still in the championship with their turnover managers is beyond me. That is something
God
else.
knows. It's an art.
Yeah, but you look at Middlesbrough and commentary and you think, well, yeah, Premier League clubs. At the end of the day, they are. That's kind of where naturally you're going to think you should be, and you've been there before, so why not? But yeah, we'll be delighted to take anything, honestly. But I think we'll lose 3-2. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. I don't know why I think it's going to be a 5-goal humdinger, but there you go. That's what's come out of my mouth. So yeah, I'll go with it.
I'm going to go with kind of the opposite shade of opinion and say it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be tight. I don't expect a lot of goals in it, to be honest. I think Boro aren't really the type of team that... I don't know, if we had like a pendulum, we would swing more towards the defensive side than the attacking side. It's kind of different, I guess, under Rob Edwards as it was under Michael Carrick, who was in turn the opposite to that. He was more tried to outscore the opposition. Rob Edwards is more just keep that solid defensive platform. So for me, I think it's going to be pretty tight. Please put your score predictions in the comments if you're watching. If you get it right, you will get a shout out on the next show. We didn't quite we didn't get anybody predicting the score right for the Sheffield Wednesday game. We got quite a few people that did throw their prediction into the hat, but nobody got it right. Maybe for this one, somebody will. I'm going to go for, I think, 1-0 Middlesbrough. And I'll take that, honestly. Keep the run going, and and hopefully we can keep up Coventry's arses. But yeah, we will wrap things up here then. Thank you very much, Tim, for joining me on this one. If you'd like to check out Tim's work on the Fearless in Devotion podcast, we will, as always, pop the links in the description. Please support everybody that jumps on the Boro Breakdown. We always appreciate their time. We will be back in your ears on Sunday to review this week's results. Until then, take care and up the Boro Breakdown.